Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
You know, it's really amazing how politically correct and dumbed down the mainstream media has become, the old dinosaur media, and the people that still subscribe to its twisted ideas. Mark Cuban, who I think of as a guy with a lot of courage and somebody who I know is a libertarian, at least in the closet, because I've worked with him a little bit. We're going to play this tape coming up later. Came out, as you know, yesterday and said we're all bigots at some level. We all discriminate. No matter what color you are, it's going on. And he said, you know, if I see somebody in a parking lot with a hoodie over their head, even though I probably shouldn't think they're a criminal, criminals sometimes dress like that. I may walk the other side of the street, but it doesn't mean I dislike people for their color. I'm paraphrasing. It's just that we've all got to admit that we discriminate. Well, yeah, I mean, if a motorcycle gang pulls up around you and it's the Hells Angels and they start making comments at you, you're not discriminating against them in a bad way to think it might be good to get out of here. It's like if you walk in a restaurant and it turns out to be a rough bar. One time by the San Antonio Zoo, we were hungry after we'd gone. Looked like a nice restaurant. We pulled in. We go in. We sit down, and it was a gay pickup joint. And I'm not against gay people, but it was going on in there, a bunch of drunk gay guys. And we said, you know what? We got a bunch of small children. We're going to go. And if that would have been a heterosexual meat market pickup joint, we would have left. I mean, it's just, it's kind of like if you're going on a vacation, you take your kids to a family-friendly resort. You don't try to get them into, what is it called, Sandals? I guess that's an adult resort. I've seen the ads on TV. That's discrimination. Those places discriminate and say, we don't want kids here. I wouldn't want to be part of a country club that was white only or black only, but they got both. And if people want to just be around that, that's their issue. So let's get it straight. I grew up in Dallas, Texas, and had black friends I played football with and baseball with. And a lot of times I would go over to their house. Some of the black folks I knew lived in middle-class affluent areas. Other ones lived in what you'd call the ghetto. And my parents, I guess, were so what you'd call open-minded at the time. They'd say, sure, son, go spend the weekend with your black friend in the ghetto. And I'd be there, and black people come out of their houses and say, I don't like cracker asses around here. You get out of here, I'm going to kill you. So, needless to say, I didn't go too many times to go stay in the ghetto. I was being discriminated against. Does that mean that I dislike black people? No, because I'm not going to blame all black people because I have been around racist blacks. And believe me, I grew up in Dallas, Texas, folks. I mean, there are, I'd probably say, at least when I grew up, 20, 30% of black folks are uber racist. And I mean out in the open. They don't hide it, and they're proud of it. I haven't lived in Dallas since I was 16 years old, so I don't know if it's that bad today. But I go up to Dallas sometimes, and I've run into it and had the comments made to me. And it's just the media acts like only white people are racist. And I got to tell you, I'm a white person, and I know. Because I've been everywhere, from deer camps to corporate boardrooms. Most white people are guilty, self-loathing, anti-white, self-loathing whites, self-hating whites. It's just all a lie. And the propaganda has really worked well. So the whites are all guilty and hate themselves, and they can go, well, prove you're a good white, turn your guns in. Prove you're a good white, be a socialist. That's what this is all about. The 23rd day of May, 2014. I am your host, Alex Jones. We're going to be live for the next 3 hours. There is so much to cover on the economy, on the First Amendment, on al-Qaeda terrorists at Guantanamo Bay, getting better treatment than our vets. Harry Reid says Obama needs to start acting as a dictator. We have just got so much to cover today. And in the last 30 minutes, we have a think tank expert joining us to break down Obamacare with the subsections and how it creates what they call biosurveillance, tracking everything you do at the doctor, all your secrets, all your private info, fed into every federal and state bureaucracy to then be leaked to the media. Seriously hardcore information. Also, there's video of this. You know, I always talk about eco-science, written by the White House science czar and Paul Ehrlich, top globalist, eugenicist. He's back on the news in Newsbusters, saying alarmist Paul Ehrlich predicts need to eat the bodies of our dead or Soylent Green to survive the population bomb that he wrote back in the 60s that's been proven to be total bull. So they're just recycling more of the same. Meanwhile, actress says on Conan O'Brien that TSA pat-down gives her a head orgasm. This is part of the ongoing propaganda with all these Hollywood people that are constantly going, I love being groped. I love it. All of you should just go along with it when they're flying on private jets. Also, the robots are coming, and they are replacing warehouse workers and fast food employees. We're going to break down that InfoWars article. All this and more is coming up. Hey, guys, will you check this article and find out why there's not a byline on it? I need to watch that because we just updated the new website design, and I'm seeing some of those bugs. Just a program note. So I don't have time to remember it during the break. I'll just say it now. There's so much other good news. This election was going on yesterday, and we had Lord Christopher Monckton on, who really is an important guy. He's very interesting as well. An inventor, journalist, you name it, and scientist. He helped start UKIP with Nigel Farage, a fellow that's been on our show many times over the years. UKIP makes sweeping gains across the UK and UK elections, becomes threat to main parties. Pen Power, French rightist, leads anti-EU drive. And basically it's a libertarian movement through the old right-wing skeleton in Europe that's been compromised. And you're seeing sweeping gains in the EU Parliament by UKIP, now spreading into Europe. You're seeing sweeping gains across local elections and national elections. Again, that's why the globalists in Bilderberg are obsessed with the real Ron Paul, Alex Jones Libertarian Tea Party, started in 2006 or so by Ron Paul supporters and myself. We called them Tea Party events, Ron Paul rallies. On record. Not taking credit here. I'm telling you where it came from. They began in 2007, 8, and 9 going out and taking over Republican and Democratic events and shouting them down at press conferences and speeches. The Republicans wisely, the establishment, tried to then go take it over and dominate it so that they wouldn't get attacked. Rick Perry started saying, let's secede, you know, let's arrest everybody in the government, but not actually doing what he said. But that got the heat off of them. But they were unable to fully co-opt it. So now they're trying to kill it. We're putting photos on screen from actually 2004, when it started in Boston and San Francisco and other areas, but didn't get big till 2006, 7, 8, 9. The point is that I watched it all unfold at the time, and they tried to take it over. Karl Rove and all the rest of them. It didn't work. So now you've got the Republican leadership, and I know I staked this. People need to know this is the fight, with the Democrats giving money against the Tea Party. And you've got attempts to bring it down. But it's very exciting that Le Pen's daughter is storming to power. I happen to know from Bob Chapman and others that she is a listener. We try to get Le Pen on, by the way, guys. She speaks English. And Farage, of course, is a listener, Farage. And I'm not taking credit for my show. I'm saying we have always been at the very tip of the spear, cutting edge of real libertarian movement worldwide. So is Ron Paul, obviously, in an even bigger way. And people see Rand Paul hanging out with Rupert Murdoch at the Kentucky Derby and get freaked out by that. Or they see Ted Cruz surging in the polls and meeting with Republican leadership. That's the establishment trying to meet with people they weren't able to strangle in their crib, like Rand Paul and Ted Cruz, who the Republican Party tried to beat both of them in the primaries. So that's what's going on there. And obviously, Rand Paul and Ted Cruz are going to have to, at least on the surface, and the system knows this, by the way, play ball with the establishment to not be totally destroyed. But the establishment also realizes they've run out of options. People aren't going to buy into the gimmick of a woman running for president. They'd vote for a woman if she was a patriot. People know there's a voting fraud, but if they engage in voting fraud, there'll be a revolution. And Ted Cruz is telling it like it is, saying the Democrats want to repeal the First Amendment. We're going to play that clip coming up. So we've got a real choice to make here. Are we going to let the Republican Party fully destroy the Tea Party, or are we going to stand up for it and try to get the Tea Party candidates into office across the nation? And the answer is we need to get Tea Party candidates in 2014. We need to see a total sweep ahead of the general election in 2 years by Tea Party candidates. And I've always been a purist, and people know that. But the Democrats are loaded for bear, and they are trying to fully get rid of the Republican Party. So there's not even an option. And they understand the main threat to their hegemonic power is a libertarian takeover of the Republicans. So we've got to fulfill their greatest fears and put wind into those sails and understand they've got their main forces attacking the Tea Party because it's the main venue worldwide to defeat them. The Tea Party / UKIP movement worldwide are just traditionalist, where you have families, you get to keep a little bit of your money, you get to have a little bit of factories and jobs. I mean, the Tea Party is not 1/10 as radical as it should be. It's what the Democrats would have been in the 1960s, or the Republicans would have been in the 1970s or 80s. But the globalists have radicalized things so much in the Overton window that now you've got open communism being promoted by Democratic members of the Congress. And you've got open announcements that the family's evil and must be eradicated, and that total socialism is the way to go. And you've got open moves, we're going to play the clip, of the Democrats to end free speech, to bring in the fairness doctrine over the internet and print media, and to bring in a new dark age of political control. Because they are authoritarians and they're unpopular, they've got to do it. And they want to bring in unlimited illegals, 30 million that are here, 30+ million more that are about to be here, and let them bring their families in to checkmate, to give them driver's license, to vote, and be given welfare, to politically sink the ship. The whole battle is being joined right now. And we've got to defeat the radicals that are anti-gun, anti-family, anti-sovereignty. And to the establishment's realizing they've now reached the point of the plunge. Do they really feel safe? The Rupert Murdochs, but even the so-called leftist establishment, do you really want to overthrow the whole country and bring in hardcore tyranny? You think you're going to be safe in a Leninist, Stalinist, Maoist type system just because you've got villas in Switzerland? And you think you can get out of the country? Most of you that are part of this system are going to lose your prosperity, lose your bank accounts. 99% of you that helped bring this in will be screwed over by it. So even if you're an immoral psychopath, even if you're an immoral establishment type out there, or Rupert Murdoch, who's played ball with the globalists and played both sides of the fence and promoted global warming on Fox TV and all this anti-family stuff, you've worked with them, Murdoch. You've played both sides and come out on top doing it. If you keep playing both sides, you're going to lose everything. Mark my words, News Corps. Mark my words, everybody else. You either stand up for basic freedom now, or you're going to lose your butt as well. It is liberty, it is due process, it is prosperity that we're going to lose. A moral country is wealthy and virtuous. A virtuous country is wealthy and successful. You guys have cheated a lot to get where you're at, but not all of you are pure evil. And so you better reform the country now, right the ship now, fix the nation now. We need to see a total Tea Party sweep of the Republican Party, and we need to see more people run. There's some good folks running as Democrats. In fact, I want to get some of them on. One of them runs an ad here on the network, not with me, but with the network. And I know she's got some good policies. So we need to see this happen. I'll be live this Sunday, even though Memorial Day is coming up on Monday, 4 to 6 p.m. Central. I want to add that point. I'm Alex Jones, your host. I'm going to open the phones up in the next segment. Right now, let's go to Ted Cruz. Democratic senators want to repeal the First Amendment. I'm telling you, the only way Ted Cruz can get the poll position from Rand Paul, who at the CPAC poll, but also Gallup polls, is the leader for the Republican presidential nomination right now. And obviously that can change down the road, but Rand Paul is the leader in every poll. Ted Cruz is next. But Ted Cruz is gaining. Ted Cruz is gaining because he is sounding more hardcore than Rand Paul. And the reason I say this is not because I'm picking favorites, even though I know the Paul's really good and know Rand Paul very well. I want to see Rand Paul elected president. That's why I don't even pressure him to come on my show. And I'll just shut my mouth right there at that point. But the Pauls know all this, okay? It's just they're very gentlemanly, reserved people, which plays well with the Senate and the elite. But at the same time, when you're faced with an incredible tyranny and you're faced with the Democrats wanting to end free speech, that's what they're doing. So if it sounds radical, but it's true, you got to say it. I mean, I go into my crew all the time and I go, that headline's not sensational enough. I don't care if it sounds like the National Enquirer. This stuff is extreme. In New York State, they're moving to give 12-year-olds sex changes, whether the parents want it or not. The headline should be, state sexualizes children, pushes sex changes on them. Or I can't even come up with a headline sensational enough. What, are you against sex changes? I saw where they fired some talk show host in upstate New York because they called it nut job. I think it's nut job that we have a state giving sex changes to 12-year-olds without parental consent. Look, if somebody thinks they're a woman and that, whatever, I'm not against you. I'm not obsessed with sex. I'm not repressed. But let me tell you, you got a bunch of people that were repressed growing up, and they're going to the other end of the spectrum now, wanting to make me pay for your sex change? That'd be like if I wanted a sexual enlargement, or you wanted it, making people pay for the expensive surgery. I've read they have those. I feel like I need, or how about I feel like I need a nose job? I think my nose is too big. I want you to pay for a $20,000 nose job. I mean, because it's sexual in nature, we're discriminatory if we don't pay for it. See how we've been guilted into all this garbage? And now we're being guilted into giving up our free speech so they can pass laws? If you don't like what the talk show host says about transvestites or transgender people, then don't support their sponsors and let them know. That's the First Amendment way to do it, not get them fired. You people are out of control fascist. Let's go ahead and go to this clip of Ted Cruz telling it like it is, okay? We're only going to beat these people by saying you're not liberal, you're not progressive in a classical sense, you people are dangerous, you people are a sick cult. You people want to take our free speech, you're a danger. Here's Ted Cruz.
When you think it can't get any worse, it does. This year, I'm sorry to tell you, the United States Senate is going to be voting on a constitutional amendment to repeal the First Amendment. I am telling you, I am not making this up. Senator Chuck Schumer has announced the Senate Democrats are scheduling a vote on a constitutional amendment to give Congress the plenary power, the unlimited authority to regulate political speech. Because elected officials have decided they don't like it when the citizenry has the temerity to criticize what they've done. They don't like it when pastors in their community stand up and speak the truth. And it makes their lives inconvenient when they're not standing for principle, and actually that's pointed out back home. And I'll note this amendment, which has 41 Democratic senators as co-sponsors. 41 Democrats have signed on to repealing the First Amendment.
That's right. We're going to go to break. By the way, that guy is such presidential material right there. I mean, can you imagine having him instead of Barack Obama? Oh, it's just unbelievable. I mean, I'm sorry. Ted Cruz just does wonderful thing after wonderful thing. I'm really getting sold on Ted Cruz. Where it doesn't matter who we elect president, the corporate interest, the bureaucracy continues its operation. But now the globalists are getting ready to fully overthrow all vestiges of freedom, all vestiges of normal human activity, and have a revolution, a technological overwrite of humanity. And so, as the Who said, we won't get fooled again. I tip my hat to the new Constitution. But with Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, and others, I guarantee you, if they get in office, the system will try to compromise them as president or vice president. And they'll have to play some ball or be fully destroyed just because we're so deep into this evil and so domesticated. Ron Paul has a 20-year plan to get us out of socialism and communism and corporatism on top of it. But you see, we're in a perfect storm where either total evil is going to take over, and that normally happens at this point, historically, and cannibalism politically sets in, and societies implode, or we have a renaissance out of this, and the West has done this more than any other cultural region. We've also been some of the worst people in the West. That's oft how it is. The best and worst will be in a people, in a group, in a culture. The heights and the lows will be found, the extremes. If the establishment, and large swaths of it are concerned, I can tell you, makes the decision they don't want to destroy the family, they don't want to wreck everything, they want to admit there's covert eugenics programs going on, they want to admit the technocracy is mentally ill, and admit how much trouble we're in, we can reform ourselves. Russia isn't perfect and is basically a gangster culture, a very patriotic culture. Patriotic means paternal, male-based. Russia's paying people to have kids. They're against eugenics. They have top state-run talk show hosts that talk about the New World Order and cancer viruses and the vaccines. Russia's been through 90 years of hell. And so there's a real need to follow Alexander Solzhenitsyn. There's a real need to try to reform things through a nationalistic Russia. We could reform things and be 10 times greater than Russia's trying to be, because we haven't gone through 90 years of pure hell yet. Oh, we will. It'll be 20 years of technocratic hell, not 90 years. Everything's compressed now in the modern age. If the establishment, large sections of it, decide to be sane, decide to not be nihilistic, decide to not be in an authoritarian race to get full technocratic control so you can then battle each other for control of the life extension levers, we can instead export excess population and dangerous experimental colonies off-world via free market and free will. There'll be plenty of people that sign up to go on incredibly dangerous missions. We can literally do anything together. But we got to be honest about how the world works and stop hoarding the knowledge and the data to a tiny elite because you don't want other people involved in the decision-making process. The decision to wall off technological development for only the elite will end up boomeranging back on you. And I know you know that, and your algorithms show that. And I'm not saying anything's going to be perfect, but we have to make the decision to try to be pro-human. Because if pro-human decisions aren't put into the equation, there's no way humanity will not be destroyed as we know it. Even if we try to do the right thing and be measured in what's happening, we don't have a lot of really good options for the general population, especially because of the decisions that have been made in Western global architecture in the last 160-year plan. It's so built into the system now that unless we try to build in algorithms and developments that can somehow create something new out of what you've already set in motion, the only way to describe the technological terror we're about to enter is pure Satanism. And I'm mainly talking to the establishment right now. If you're a new listener and don't understand what I'm talking about, I'm not trying to say I'm over your head or anything. It's just that, let me just put it to you this way. You're not in Kansas anymore, and you need to grow up and really realize that there's things a lot more important than the NFL and Miley Cyrus. Now, I want to get into the TSA developments. I want to get more into Ted Cruz. I want to get more into Harry Reid saying Obama should basically be a dictator. I want to get into a bunch of this. But right now, I want to, as humbly as I can, talk about something really important that dovetails with the things I just covered, and then just leave it at that and send a message to somebody. I said about 2 years ago that I want to take my rule here at Infowars.com of not infighting with other libertarians or conservatives or constitutionalists. Even if we disagree with a lot of things people do, if we agree with them 60, 70, 80%, and they're not openly saying turn in the guns, openly saying get rid of the family, openly saying bring in world government, we need to work together because the system's coming in trying to shut down the new media that is becoming the dominant media. And my goal is to beat the tyrants. The treasure I'm seeking, what makes me tick, what floats my boat, is human liberty, justice, renaissance, and love of God, and love of innocence. I'm not some goody two-shoes either, folks. I just love justice. I love honor. I love being a good man. And I grew up thinking everybody was like my family. Turned out people were laughing at me and thought I was a fool because I was a good man, because I was honorable. People learn to cheat, ladies and gentlemen. They think they're smart because they're cheating. The truth is, being honorable is all there is in life. The truth is, I can be just as evil, just as wicked, and then some than bad people because they don't have the perspective of good. I can go beyond your evil. That's called wisdom. The knowledge to dominate is nothing compared to the wisdom to understand in the full context of what it will do. But I've been immature. I've been on air 19 years, and it's certainly been a growing process. I've been a train wreck. So I apologize to everyone for the things I've done, whether it's been perceived or real. The reason I'm concerned about Glenn Beck right now is because I can identify federal talking points. And the fact that he's putting them out the way he is really says something bad. And he said a lot of lies about me the last few months and basically is trying to tell radio stations not to carry my show. And is trying to damage the InfoWars operation and free speech. He says I want violence. He says I was behind the Bundy racist comments. I played the clips. I'm not going to play them again. He says that I'm Malcolm X and that he's Martin Luther King. And then misrepresents what Malcolm X stood for. At the end, Malcolm X was pretty much nonviolent. He was always, I have a right to defend myself. That's not offensive violence. But yesterday, and we got sent the clip by multiple affiliates, I didn't even listen to all of it. I had the guys give me a transcript because I just can't listen to it, quite frankly. It makes me want to cry. Because Glenn Beck's a very talented, smart person, has so much potential, and is a great actor. And I mean that. He admits he's an actor. He likes to be an actor. He puts on some great stage shows. I'm not in competition with Glenn Beck, and I'm not going to respond to it anymore. I told my crew don't attack him anymore. They did a promo where MSNBC and CNN's attacking me, saying I'm a conspiracy theorist and must be stopped. And then we play a clip of Glenn Beck saying he's a conspiracy theorist, you know, all the rest of it, showing the talking point. I'm going to have that ad taken down. I'm going to take the uber high road. And I'm not going to talk about Glenn Beck anymore. But what he did is basically say yesterday, I'm going to destroy the Tea Party. So that when the establishment demonizes the Tea Party, I will be blamed. When in truth, he's trying to lead it down a rat hole and obviously working for the Republican establishment. And the tactics he uses are spending 20 minutes on it. A part of a segment, another segment. And Breitbart did the same thing. Here's the headline. McDaniels supporter arrested for sneaking into Mississippi Senator Thad Cochran's wife's nursing home room. Well, I mean, I think if the incumbent's not taking care of his wife, I'm not alleging that. That's the type of stuff you would want to investigate. Clayton Thomas Kelly, 28, of Pearl, allegedly photographed Rose Cochran, who's incapacitated with progressive dementia. Now, I don't know if it was bad what he did or good. I don't know. But this is what Southern Poverty Law Center, ADL, State Department, MSNBC, White House-run Media Matters do. My show reaches 15 million people. It's more than that now. In fact, we've looked at some numbers. It's probably 18 million a week, one way or another right now, okay? Basically, half the population knows who I am now. This show's big. They can go into anybody's computer or Twitter or Facebook or website, and most people who are politically involved are going to have my stuff on their website one way or another. They went on to basically say, this guy's my reporter, and then I have reporters embedded everywhere, and that InfoWars snuck into the nursing room. Because on the guy's website, he's got some of my videos. According to Beck, I didn't go look. That's like the Marine who got a dishonorable discharge, Richard Poplawski in Pittsburgh, who shot 3 cops dead. Within 2 hours of him being arrested, they had his computer, and on the news they said he did it for Alex Jones. And had someone, it turned out, was not his friend and didn't know him, saying on the news he did it for Alex Jones. This is a pattern. So I instantly know how to recognize these patterns now, where he's following the exact script that I'm going to cause violence, and when there's violence, it's my fault. So when there's a false flag, I get blamed. His YouTube page included videos featuring Alex Jones. We did go to his YouTube page. We couldn't find his site. And on the side, YouTube said these are recommended. In fact, I forgot to give that to you this morning. Go look up his YouTube and it'll show it. They're not even his videos. YouTube, because the guy's politically involved as a libertarian, it displays what's similar. That's how that works. Google works that way. They own YouTube. So I should have made that point. I'm not guilty of this. I didn't go in the nursing room. None of my crew did. And Glenn Beck knows that. And he went on and said, you know, no one involved in my network, radio, you name it, needs to be involved with Alex Jones. None of my listeners, he's a bad guy. And none of these radio stations. I mean, because he knows I'm on a bunch of the same stations. So to the stations, I'm not attacking Glenn Beck. I mean, is he your boss? Do I get turned off the radio because he says, because he's God? And Glenn Beck really opens himself up here. If he was successful and got me kicked off radio stations, I'm not going to pursue it, but it is torturous interference. It's warfare against me. And what did Media Matters say they would do to Drudge, they would do to Fox, they would do to InfoWars? And I'm not saying Fox is perfect, but they lump us in together. They said, we're going to infiltrate, we're going to destroy them. And all I know is this guy quotes Media Matters quotes one after the next. And I'm done talking about it. And I have to respond when a show that big, reaching millions, 6, 7, 8 million a day, is doing that. I mean, that's a big deal. But what really concerns me is I recognize what it is. And I don't know if he's getting fed it by the White House or if they're smart enough to just copy what Media Matters is saying and to go with government talking points, but it really is a bad... And then he goes and laughs at me and says, no one here ever worked for the CIA, and laughs when at least 2 of his senior people on record were in information warfare at the CIA. And he even names one of them and says he was never in the CIA. I mean, I heard like 3 minutes of this. I had to go out of the room, folks. The preying on the audience like they're stupid was really freaked me out. I'm going to say this. I'm going to take the high road. I don't want callers calling in about this. I'm going to have that one ad, which I already meant to do, that's been running for a week, that has Glenn Beck's voice on it, calling me a conspiracy theorist. It also calls me dangerous and evil. I want it taken down. Okay, yeah, and then we're going to have a new one with it replaced with a clip of them saying Alex Jones is now in a New York jail or Austin jail. We use one of those clips. This is terrible news, ladies and gentlemen. You know, Rush Limbaugh isn't perfect. He is an angel compared to Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. Sean Hannity's not perfect. He at least supported a free speech, property rights movement with the Bundys. All I'm saying is, if the Republicans get in and act like Obama or the globalist, I will speak out against it. But right now, the Democrats are trying to extinct free speech in this country. They're trying to totally take over and create a dictatorship of their party. And I'll vote for a ham sandwich over them, okay? They're that dangerous. They're going for everything. They're persecuting people for their free speech, Dinesh D'Souza and many others. They're going to come after everybody. And I'll just say this in closing to Glenn Beck. Dude, you better get over your fear, because I happen to know from you were scared to death of all those bodyguards. And I know you've been threatened, and the system scared you into joining with them. You're going to be hung out to dry by the people you're working with. Just stop it right now. You know full well I didn't send somebody in to the nursing home. And you know full well that you have people listen to my show. I'm glad you listen to my show and take our information. I go to Drudge, who posts amazing news, and use Drudge Report News. I mean, I don't hate Drudge just because he's better at finding news than I am. I admire him. I don't hate WorldNet Daily because they're as big as I am online, and they're not my competition. If we don't beat this, it's all over. Stop saying I'm for violence. Stop saying anytime somebody does something, it's my fault. And knock it off, man. Okay, I'm done. I don't want any more Glenn Beck ever on this show. But he says stuff so bad I have to respond. I just, it's horrible. I apologize to stations for even covering it. Even defending myself, I think, is bad. I want to take the total high road. All right, big news coming up. Stay with us. My analogy with libertarians and constitutionalists is like this. It's like they're a brother I've got who I've been in a lot of fistfights with over the years and who I don't completely agree with on a lot of things, but I still love them. Compared to having Jeffrey Dahmer living next door, that's Obama and the Democrats. And I'm not going to fight with my brother over did he open his car door and ding my car and get in a fist fight with my brother while there's a guy across the street eating little kids. That's what I'm trying to say here. I mean, I really have nightmares about the New World Order. I really lay awake at night thinking how to beat them. But these people are bad. We don't want to bring in their total evil and go along with this technocratic system. A lot of people join the New World Order because they're so scared of it. I've talked to a lot of billionaires, a lot of top engineers, a lot of big company owners. I mean, routinely. A lot of rich people live in Austin. And I've not tried to get in these circles, but I'm just always like a movie brought into them. It's like that Highwayman song, and our lives were like some old Western movie. Desperados waiting for a train. I want to play that song sometime today or play part of it. He let me drive his car when he's too drunk to, and he'd wink and give me money for the girls. I mean, that's literally in the establishment. Most of them know what's going on and are literally just scared to death playing ball with the technocrats on top. And people have to stop being afraid. because there's no future in this. By the way, they found that guy's YouTube site that Breitbart and Beck and others are trying to tie me to. Let's put it on screen. We went through more than 50 videos, and there's one video on there, amazing footage of the Bundy Ranch that somebody else copied off our site. And then one other down at the bottom of Russell Brand interview I did. There's also Fox News, CNN, C-SPAN. So why not say Fox News did it? C-SPAN did it. C-SPAN's on there, Fox News. Guess who else we were scrolling through we found? We found Rachel Maddow and Glenn Beck on there. So it's Rachel Maddow and Glenn Beck's fault that this guy went to nursing home. I mean, this is the type of stuff I'm going through, folks, and it's really uncool. We're going to start the next hour. I'm going to give the phone number out and take your calls. Coming up, al-Qaeda terrorist at Guantanamo treated better than our vets. Harry Reid says President Obama may have to act alone on immigration and other issues. That's called dictatorship. Huge economic news, huge Fukushima news. It's all coming up. Briefly, my voice is kind of shot today. My throat feels great. Let me take my lung cleanse. Every time I get a sore throat or my larynx gets tired, I've tried honey and olive oil. Didn't work that well. I'm not just saying this. The essential oils concentrated in the lung cleanse, 3 shots. Inhale. Absolutely. Did you hear that? Did you hear that right there? Water wasn't doing it. I mean, is that a joke? Right? Did you hear half the horses go away right there? Literally, folks, that's how good this works. And I didn't do that on purpose. I just thought, hey, I've got the way to fix this right here. This works better than anything. Boom, lung cleanse. Available at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com. And your purchase supports the media organization under the most attack. I mean, I'm under withering attack. My crew is. Every dirty trick under the sun. I'm not even going to talk about it. Because you know why? I expect it. If I wasn't being attacked, it would mean I was doing my job. So please support us financially and get great products. InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139 to find the T-shirts, the books, the films, the water filters, discount and promo code WATER. InfoWarsStore.com. Shop with the good guys. Fund the InfoWar. Support our local affiliates. Support their local sponsors. Second hour coming up. Stay with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live. We are now into the second hour of the worldwide broadcast. We are going to be opening the phones up coming up in the next segment into the third hour today for first-time callers with any questions, any comments. If you agree, if you disagree, it doesn't matter which it is. I'd love to hear from you. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. If you go up to drudgereport.com, and we'll put that on screen, you can click on it and go to the article there on the site. Actress TSA pat-down gives me a head orgasm. Now, this is psych warfare. I've noticed scores of Hollywood stars and actresses and comics saying how much they love being groped. Get over it, shut up, and take it. Ben Affleck, who never flies commercial, he has private jet, the rest of them, they all think it's really funny to tell us, hey, get over it, accept it. This is part of propaganda placement to be frisked and be treated like criminals and have our children groped, and they're back to groping the children. That clip is coming up. It's also up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Also, the robots are coming, and they are replacing warehouse workers and fast food employees. That's a report that we're going to be getting to as well. And we are going to continue with the economic news that I've already started to mention, but we're going to get into this in some detail. The U.S. faces higher food prices, inflation in 2014, led by meats. Where'd you hear that over and over again from us years ago? That's the plan, and they're doing it. You're going to live in a 200-square-foot apartment. You're going to pay $100 for a steak. Detroit not alone, except more bankrupt cities, expert CNBC. Gas price worsen, 101,245 days above the $3 a gallon mark. But don't worry, federal workers, 318,000 of them, owe $3.3 billion and aren't paying federal taxes, and they're not going to be prosecuted. But you will be, don't worry, my slaves. So that's all coming up. New York State suggests HIV test for 13-year-olds, sex ed in elementary school. We're going to be breaking it all down. Al Sharpton defends anti-Jewish remarks. He said he was only talking about some Jews being bad. Oh, boy. Let me give you a little news flash, folks. There's mafias in every racial or religious group, and then they will use political correctness to protect themselves. There's a black mafia in this country. You criticize them, you're racist. There's a Jewish mafia in this country. You criticize them, you're racist. There's a Southern Dixie mafia. If you criticize them, you're anti-Southern. There's an Italian mafia. If you criticize them, you're anti-Italian. There's an Irish mafia. If you criticize them, you're anti-Irish. There's a WASP mafia. If you criticize them, you're anti-WASP. This is how humans organize themselves. There's a Mexican mafia. You criticize them, you're anti-Latino. Of course, there's criminal groups in every racial group that organize themselves and are committing crimes. But does that mean that entire group is bad? On the whole Jewish issue that everyone obsesses over. The political correct groups, the ADL and others, use it to attack people that aren't anti-Semitic. And then the ADL protects real anti-Semites who go out and propagandize for them. And basically what I call, in my opinion, is protection money. Is the ADL a Jewish mafia? Yes. Does the ADL cover up for some of the racist Jewish mafia that targets Sephardic Jews who they see and call N-words in Israel? Yes. Did Israel irradiate 110,000 Sephardic Jews? Yes. Does that mean all the Jews are racist? No. See, there's subtleties to everything. We'll be back. Well, libertarians in Europe via UKIP and the EU Parliament, as well as across England, are making sweeping gains. The libertarian-led Le Pen movement is also making huge landslide wins in EU, anti-EU drive. And here, the Tea Party Republicans are in a war with establishment blue bloods like Boehner and the Democrats who've all teamed up to give money to try to defeat them. This is exciting. The establishment is really worried. The globalists want socialism. They want nanny state. They want control. They want political correctness. Feds are warning of massive food jump price. Well, their policies, threefold, have caused it. We predicted it. It's now happened. I'm not tooting my horn, folks. They've shut down production in this country. Putin slams Obama, says, who is he to judge? Seriously. And, of course, we've had statements out there saying that Putin is Hitler. So all of that and more is coming up on Infowars.com. Footage of Ukrainian helicopters firing on own checkpoint raises questions of it being a staged false flag to blame the Russians. Media generates a new anti-gay scandal following video of Phil Robertson's sermon. We're going to play some clips of that. Actress says TSA pat-down gives me a head orgasm. We're going to cover that in a moment. That's all on PrisonPlanet.com and Infowars.com. Morning after abortion pill, now available on Amazon. The robots are coming, and they are replacing warehouse workers and fast food employees. The recession is coming. Economist warns it's beyond control. I don't see what will save it at this point. We never left the recession in 2008. It's only gotten worse, and I've got all the numbers to prove it. Waden says every American has a right to know when their government believes it's allowed to kill them. That's a Democratic senator saying that and criticizing Obama. Wyden. And the future of socialized health care. There is no better predictor than the VA system. Excellent article. All that and more up at Infowars.com. By the way, we're starting to slowly change Infowars, the article pages and the front page. Now the whole bottom half is updated more often. It's bigger text, easier to navigate. The article pages look different. So for TV viewers, I'm going to scroll from the top of Infowars.com to the bottom, then we're going to go to your calls. But better nav bars, everything. Then in a few months, we're going to have it be more responsive. It's already responsive on phones and Droids and iPhones. And then we're going to slowly change the site to be completely clean and not be cluttered on the side and be a truly modern site. But We've tried that. Folks don't like it, so we're going to phase it in. But Infowars.com has been updated. And if you click on one of the articles, you can see what the subpages look like now. Bigger, bolder text, easier to read. Just looks a lot better. So great job with the crew and the developers getting that done. And it's a big hit. People like it. So I want to thank everybody for your support. We're doing the best job we can here. I want to go to Ben, Rob, Ryan, Ethan, Barry, and others. Barry's in Thailand, so we'll go to Barry first. Folks calling internationally. It's open phones on this Friday. It's a free-for-all. Any question, any comment, agree, disagree. Wild card Friday. Sometimes we have wild card Mondays where we're just talking about whatever you want. But first, I want to get into the TSA. But before I do that, Ted Cruz says Democratic senators want to repeal the First Amendment. Now, the bill they've introduced under Schumer, we covered this weeks ago. It puts people in the newsrooms. It lets the government label what's media and what's not. And it allows them to restrict free speech. And they've got other bills, and then the FCC saying they're getting rid of fairness, the true fairness we have with net neutrality, and bring in net neutrality, net taxes, all these different control systems. It's all happening now. And we have no hope of countering it. No hope. Zero. If we don't admit that it's an authoritarian takeover. That's why he continues to rise in the polls, is because he's telling it like it is. We're told every day, don't be radical, don't be extreme, don't be aggressive. You're going to lose politically. We've gotten in the position we are because liberty lovers, libertarians, constitutionalists have gotten so milquetoast and get drowned out by the so-called liberals who are saying your kids belong to us, 100% taxes, we're above the law, you're racist if you don't like government-run health care. That's written to screw everybody over financially and to raise taxes on poor people and to surveil all your medical records and give them to everybody. I mean, it's such a nightmare. It's so over the top, and the Republican leadership could have a slam dunk win running against Obamacare. But Ted Cruz and Rand Paul are against it, so they're superstars respectively set to win the Republican nomination for president and vice president. I mean, I come off like a train wreck sometimes, and I'm on the phone with senators and congresspeople calling me wanting to know my advice. I'm not bragging, folks. I'm not going to say names here. But heads of corporations, senators, you name it, want to talk to me on the phone for 45 minutes at night. Because their top people are saying, look at the algorithms of Alex Jones. Look at the algorithms of all this. They know that the establishment knows everything's going down. And they know that we know how to defeat the enemy. And again, why am I telling you the story before I go to calls? I'm not bragging. It's like living in a Twilight Zone episode or The Matrix, that I'm somebody without a college education, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, I'm proud of it. I was already successful starting my own media operation by my own bootstraps when I was 21 years old. I'm 40 now. I could have gone to college. I could have got a degree. I could have gone and made $100,000 a year. I could have played ball with the system. I made my own way, my own path. That's what I'm known for doing, trailblazing. But trailblazing, it was more like a train wreck. I just had the will to not want to be a slave and the will to fight tyranny. And when they harassed me and physically attacked me and demonized me and stalked me and threatened me, that only made me fight harder. So I know how powerful you are. A lot of you are better looking than I am, smarter than I am, better spoken than I am, have better oratory skills than I have. You may not think you have them because you haven't attempted to use your skills yet. When you get in the arena, you get stronger, folks. I've been in the arena, forged in the fires of grassroots warfare against tyranny and control freaks and scum jellyfish everywhere for 19 years. 2 years before that, in the proto-Tea Party libertarian movement. I went and put out yard signs for Pat Buchanan. I went out and knocked on doors and canvassed. I went out and gave speeches at caucuses. I went out and I tried everything I could. And you know what it's done in 19 years? Changed the landscape, created a whole new way of looking at things for so many. So I'm not bragging. I've come face to face now with the fact that I have changed history because of you. Like a horse and carriage. Our listeners from the beginning resonated and taught me, the old-timers, the veterans, the patriots, the engineers, the government people, the police officers, gave me the intel, the firefighters, Deputy Fire Chief Vic Vreeland, Vietnam veteran in his own right, great guy, took me under his wing, helped me for a year, start InfoWars. I've told the crew, get a hold of Vic Vreeland. I think he lives in Bastrop now. Get a hold of him and his wife. I want to take him out to dinner. I want to get him in here. Taught me so much, like my dad taught me and my grandfathers taught me. And here I am after 19 years, another testament to all of us working together. We have savaged the enemy. We have held back their plans. I'm not bragging. It just needs to be said how precious the info war is. And everything we do here, and my crew and my operation, we're making history. And it shows that when good men and women stand up and keep coming, the founder of the Texas Rangers famously said, a man in the wrong can't stand up against a man in the right who keeps on a-coming. You got to keep on a-coming. These people are cowards we're fighting. They're scum. And I have a desire to see them fall. You have a desire to see your football team win. You have a desire to see your son or daughter get an A+ in a test. Great. But I see these parents that put their kids under so much pressure to have the top grades and get into the best college, and their kids, you know, some of them make it. Some of them commit suicide. Others go to drugs. Parents, you should care about your kids being honorable. You should care about your children being healthy. You should care about them upholding their family name, and then everything else will follow. You should be with your children at the homeless shelters if you want to raise them right. I'm speaking to myself here right now. There's a lot I need to do. I know I need to do. You need to be out there. You need to be teaching them to be healthy and not drink fluoridated water and eat GMO. You need to be teaching them, yeah, get good grades, but at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. What matters is be true and be satisfied and be good and to love God. And to also stand up for yourself. Parents tell their kids, don't fight back. Kids get in more trouble when they get beat up if they fight back than if they lay on the ground. And I look at how my parents raised me, and it was the opposite of what people raise folks now. And maybe it was reckless. It was bad. I wouldn't do it now, but in a way it was good. Oh, you want a motorcycle? Sure, go have one. You want a moped? Go have one. You're getting beat up at school. We better fight back harder. And I look at today how they raise the kids. It's the opposite. I raised my kids different. Oh, how the generations change. I just got an Americana upbringing. Where is America? How do we find what made us exceptional? Your calls are coming up. Let's get into the Ted Cruz quote again. I already played this. The article's up on Infowars.com. But it's so important that I want to go back over the stakes here, that you've got 40-plus members of the Democratic Party in the Congress already co-sponsoring a bill that, when you read it, ends the First Amendment. This is authoritarianism. These people are dangerous. These are Kim Jong-un wannabes. Let's go to that clip.
When you think it can't get any worse, it does. This year, I'm sorry to tell you, the United States Senate is going to be voting on a constitutional amendment to repeal the First Amendment. I am telling you, I am not making this up. Senator Chuck Schumer has announced the Senate Democrats are scheduling a vote on a constitutional amendment to give Congress the plenary power, the unlimited authority to regulate political speech. Because elected officials have decided they don't like it when the citizenry has the temerity to criticize what they've done. They don't like it when pastors in their community stand up and speak the truth. And it makes their lives inconvenient when they're not standing for principle, and actually that's pointed out back home.
Full clip, full speech.
And I'll note this amendment
at Infowars.com. Shifting gears, this story's on the left-hand side of DrudgeReport.com if you want to find it. Actress TSA pat-down gives me a head orgasm. Actress Molly Shannon characterized invasive TSA pat-downs as some kind of fetishistic sexual experience. They've had rappers, rockers, others all say this to push it. During an appearance on the Conan O'Brien show this week, when she said that the sensation of a TSA agent groping her gave her a head orgasm. Really, when they do it to small children, it's called pedophilia, which Shannon explains how she opted out of an X-ray scanner while traveling to New York and was given the option to have the pat-down, I shouldn't call her a witch, maybe she's just ignorant, to be conducted in public or in a private room. It already felt like a spa experience or a massage, said Shannon. Oh, yeah, it's real great. Well, let's go ahead and actually hear from her instead of me quoting her.
I get a kind of tingling sensation in my body. Certain slow hand movements trigger it, or soft voices, or like a soft touch will trigger like a head orgasm.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Wait, were you experiencing that when the TSA person was touching you?
I did. Yeah, I get triggered a lot at the airport. Like, I love if people have if people are wearing plastic gloves. I like when they check your, like, if you have your check that you go through the luggage. I like when they have the gloves on and they check it. Or I love when I get checked and they have to go through my luggage with the plastic gloves and they have to go through each item, like methodically swiping and going through it. Or
Is this sexual?
Stockholm
What you're
Syndrome.
saying sounds sexual to me. Like, that you're getting a sexual, you said head orgasm. That's why I think I'm within my rights.
Oh my God.
This is being ironic is what she's really doing. She doesn't like it. But women especially, on average, decide if they're being suppressed. Not all of them, but statistically, to just go with it and say they like it. And it's on record, women are more susceptible to what's known as the Stockholm Syndrome. Not bashing women, it's a survival mechanism. But see, they're using our own survival mechanisms against us where we won't survive in the end. They're just training us how to be prisoners. That story's also up on Infowars.com. Actress TSA pat-down gives me a head orgasm. We're going to come right back to your phone calls, and then the economic news, the Al-Qaeda news, the Al-Sharpton news, the Memorial Day meteor shower that's coming, and Obama to be christened as a dictator if Harry Reid, the crook from Nevada, has his way. We'll be back this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m., live in studio, Central. We'll be back tonight, 7 o'clock Central, InfoWars Nightly News at InfoWarsNews.com. We're going right to your calls. Just remember, the Nightly News is listener-supported. You can get 11 memberships for $5.95 a month. One membership, 11 people can simultaneously use it. So share those memberships. If you're not a member, it takes about a minute to sign up. All my films, special reports, other films we've been authorized to post. 18 years of material, 13 years of the site, InfoWarsNews.com, PrisonPlanet.tv. And by the way, the membership is just exploding, and it's really helping us capitalize and run the operation. So get involved in the cutting edge, tip of the spear of the InfoWar. I want to thank all of you that are joining. Those of you that are re-upping, you can sign up for a year, get 3 months free. PrisonPlanet.tv, because if you're watching and listening to this transmission, you are the resistance. Let's go ahead and talk to Barry in Thailand, then Ben in California. You're on the air, Barry.
How's it going?
Good, my friend. What's on your mind?
I just thought I'd chime in from behind the curtain of the military junta martial law curfew.
I should have thought of that. You went under martial law 2 days ago in a military coup, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's very real here right now. So anyways, I'm feeling pretty lonely. Just wanted to hear your voice. And how's it going?
You know, we should hit the NSA database and type in martial law Thailand and just show folks the articles, or they'll say later on YouTube we made it up, or they'll probably claim Thailand doesn't exist.
It's all over international media right now.
Doesn't exist. And, Obama said.
You're right. It's racist.
Exactly. You don't have to be intellectual or be smart. Just say the word racist. Thailand tourist advice remains unchanged despite military coup, as country reassures travelers Bangkok is safe. So tell me why you're there and what you're seeing and what's happening.
Well, there's military everywhere, and I'm under lockdown right now. I can't be out on the street from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. Otherwise, I risk arrest and detention and, God knows what. I mean, it's not like they're going to haul me off to a detention.
Anyone caught out after dark will be permanently detained. A lot of U.S. cities are like that. What's wrong with that?
But they did kidnap the former prime minister's sister, and she was actually the most recent prime minister.
Well, you know what Romans 13 says out of context? Whatever the government is, whether it's Hitler, Stalin, or a coup, it's of God. So if they eat her on the lawn, it's of the Lord, according to mainline churches. So why don't you hit your knees and thank the coup?
I think they should do that just to prove that it is godly and of the Lord, and that everybody should bow to this. So,
Well, George Washington was a bad man for fighting the King of England. Of course, then he became the government, so then we worship him at that point. Oh, wait, that doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I've been here since August, and there has been a lot of violence, but ultimately I'll just, give you the bottom line. I really do believe the CIA is behind this, because I've listened to the rhetoric from both sides, and the anti-government people. It started off as this pro-democracy thing, then it changed into this anti-capitalism thing, and as soon as that happened, I started listening, for the socialist overtones. And when I started hearing more about that coming out of the other, the opposition, that's when I kind of had a feeling that, the CIA was probably behind it. And
well, let me ask you, so you think the CIA is trying to put in a socialist regime?
Yeah, I do. I really do. And they may get it, too, because when the military coup happened, I mean, the military is talking about how fair and balanced they need to be to both sides. But when they ousted the sitting government, they handed a pretty strong victory to the anti-government people, which would be, in my opinion, the socialist crowd.
Yeah, and they call it socialism, and they just give the money to the ruling class, a new ruling class. I'll have to look into that more. I know some about the internal politics of that, more about Malaysia and places. But just one time I ran into a lady from Thailand, and she goes, I hear you say Thailand not free. We are free. We have king. We have queen. So maybe we should hear from some Taiwanese, and they can give us their take on their form of government. But Barry, appreciate your call. Be safe over there, buddy. See you later, buckaroo. Let's talk to Ben in California. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for having me on. I'm a left-leaning libertarian here. I just wanted to talk about quantum computing. You can go on Google, type in quantum. You can see that it's been going on for 7 years. Google's had the quantum computers for many years.
Well, I intellectually don't know what you're talking about, so I'm just going to call you racist. Is that okay?
That's all right, but, I just...
But, I just want to sound like I'm in charge of the conversation. Okay, whatever, show off, racist.
Diamond Quantum is something that Google has. They have the D-Wave computers. And, the old guard is going to be shaken up just like the classical computers shook up a lot of things with the media. There's things going on with advanced technology that is just not being talked about as much. So
well, I think technology in the general public's hands is bigoted and racist, just like they're starting to ban honor student balls. That's uninclusive, so I want those banned as well. See, I'm not even joking at this point. You don't ever have tacos or enchiladas for dinner, do you?
I do. I love all
okay, well, that's racist. Do you agree, then, as a left-leaning person, that they should, like fraternities having fiesta parties? Because I'll assure you, I've been to them. It's not about putting down Hispanics. Doesn't matter, though. Someone is offended.
No, I agree that there's definitely a whole racial... They try to, make the conversation about race to distract from the actual important issues.
But shouldn't we just... There's a singularity coming. The globalists say it's the end of humanity. Robots taking everything over. Let's not discuss that and how we're being displaced and the decision's been made to exterminate humanity, except for the elite. Let's talk about fiesta parties where everybody gets drunk and has a good time. The Spanish word for party is inherently evil. Just admit it.
No, I agree with 80% of the stuff you say. I do think
sometimes I take an afternoon nap, though, because I like the idea of a siesta on the weekend. Is that racist?
You work hard, you deserve to create your own reality.
But is it racist that I'll say to my family, I'm going to go take a siesta? Am I doing that to put down Hispanics when I say it?
No.
Well, that's because you're obviously part of the racism and don't understand the underlying tones of you might be white, which is an overall privileged racist class. Sir, do you have a girlfriend or a wife?
I have a wife.
Do you want to apologize for raping her? Because all sex, when a man has sex with a woman, it's rape. Now, don't you think that's reasonable? That's being taught at all colleges right now? All establishment?
No. You know, it's hard to, there's shades of everything. You know, you can't.
So you do agree you are a rapist. Good, that's good. Good.
Well, I'm just saying there's shades of all arguments for left to right, and then there's everything in between.
What if a woman wants you to slap her around and act like you're raping her? Is that rape?
You know, that's just a personal, private matter between two adults.
It's rape. It's rape. It's rape, racist.
No. Alex, I do agree with you.
No. You sound like Emperor Palpatine.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I just want to talk about the diamond quantum computers with the wireless technology that the media has used because they got free licenses to use the spectrum, and so the debate is about let's free up spectrum and use these quantum computers for the betterment of humanity.
Okay, well, listen, you sound like you know about quantum computers. I know a little bit about them. Guys, print me something on them so I can act like I know them. No, but I know about the whole supercomputer, quantum computer revolution where the engineers can't even understand how the computers are designing the computers now. And then we're talking about stuff 100 times faster every month till it's 1,000 times, 10,000 times. Quantum computers have been built inside diamonds, you name it, to where we can have instantaneous HD communication anywhere on the planet. They're putting in the fiber optic. We can also have total real-time surveillance of all the smart dust and RFID systems to give them real searchability of the real universe, nanotech. The singularity is going to be here much quicker than they're telling the public. And again, it's being designed towards an anti-human movement. It could be designed as a human empowerment movement. Give us your take on quantum computers. I'll shut up.
Well, my take is that they're real, they exist, and when
they keep saying they're about to get quantum computers, but they really already have them. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's something that bothers me too. Is that they have them, and they can probably use quantum cryptography to break all of the classical encryption.
Of course, they've got backdoors to all of it, bud. That's admitted. They've got energized chips. They can power up from a distance with cell towers. We told you that 15 years ago. It was declassified this year. Of course.
And yeah, you know, I agree with that. They probably have them. They're breaking encryption, and who knows if the classical internet can even sustain quantum computers existing. Berkeley Laboratory said they had a quantum internet already.
Well, it doesn't matter if they deploy the quantum, because as long as we use what we're using, that's our culture. They'll just tell us, oh, this is dead now, go to this, to shut down the entire architecture of the organic internet that's grown, with Hydra in it as well. I mean, it's certainly got the globalists in it. We need to say no when that happens. We don't want your new Trojan horse.
Yeah, you know, there's gonna be both sides to it. There's factions everywhere, and everybody's vying for some type of power, and you know.
Sure, but I mean, you say you believe they already exist. I knew from memory they already had operating proto and what they believe are the first quantum computers 2 years ago. And there's a headline: government lab reveals it has operated quantum internet for over 2 years. And that source is what, Wall Street Journal?
Exactly.
That's MIT Technology Review.
D-Wave is a company that's been around since 2007 working on the quantum computers, but it's not mainstream.
Look. My dad saw CDs and CD-ROM in '68 at UT, and it was in DARPA stuff that labs he was in. He had to sign forms. He couldn't talk about it. I mean, they said that didn't come out to the 80s, folks. I mean, we're not in Kansas. I appreciate your call. Yeah, they're 30 years advanced of what the public's been told. That's why they're on such power trips right now. They've already got massive life extension. They already know how to cure almost all cancer. We're not going to get access to it. In fact, we're not going to get access to regular health care now under Obamacare. It's eugenics care. But it doesn't matter. The trendies love it, so they're going to roll over and die. Go ahead, trendies. Take all the shots, drink the fluoride, and kill yourselves. Give it to your kids, too. It's a sacrament of believing in the system. Give it all to your kids. Just believe in it all. You don't want to go into the future. You want to die. I don't want to die. I don't buy it. I have a right as a sentient being to say, I don't want to be in your New World Order, and I'm not your slave. And I'm going to fight you. And I'm one creature showing the power of our species who's already caused massive problems for the globalists. And there are better men than I out there and better women than I. So you need to take action. Okay? We can overthrow the New World Order. But you've got to overthrow the belief that you're weak. Defeating this is an inside job. Ethan in Missouri, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, how you doing, Alex?
Doing all right, brother.
Great to be on. God bless you. I love all the work you're doing. I'm usually a day behind this show. I actually finished yesterday's show today, and I heard the clip of Bill Clinton on there. And a lot of these political people and, some of the religious communities.
A lot of people think we need to have aliens attack to unify us.
Right, exactly. And, I didn't know if you guys were familiar with a NASA project called Project Bluebeam.
Yes.
It's, the...
partially declassified. They had aliens landing and Muhammad walking around in 400-foot holograms in the first Desert Storm. That's been declassified.
Right. So, I just want to get that out there to people that, these people have crazy technology. They're, like you kind of hint on sometimes, these people are demonic. They're not people of God. We're fighting a war for souls. It's not about money. It's not about control of.
No, there's no doubt. The people, even if you don't believe in a spirit, folks, the technocrats running things at the top are psychopaths who enjoy hurting humanity.
Exactly. And, I just wanted to be out there because, if something popped up in the sky and you're looking and you're like, wow, this is insane. But people have this kind of technology and these families and bloodlines go back very far. And, they're out to rape and pillage humanity. They're out to take everything from us and, make us slaves.
By the way, I think it was one of the winners or the runners-up. We had a 10-minute Bluebeam video made about the New World Order staging alien attacks to bring in world government using Black Manta space planes. It's really a very feasible plan. And it looked like something made by Hollywood that was part of one of our video contests. See if Rob Dew remembers the name of that. We should repost those treasure trove of videos on a routine basis. They're just so good. There's so much native talent out there. Great points, Ethan. Ryan in Teos, you're on the air. Go ahead.
How's it going, Alex?
Good, brother.
Well, one thing I have a number of things that I could talk about. First, I want to simplify things so everybody can know that the War on Terror is just a repackaged modern-day version of the ancient Salem witch trials. Also... No,
exactly. It's a foggy enemy no one can defeat. And then meanwhile, the people running the trial are the ones dressing up like witches running around at night to scare people.
Oh, yeah. Cops, not all cops are bad and stuff, but like most of them, the criminals, they use the cover of authority to mask their deceptive agendas, Alex, and they get away with it, and they basically just see how much we're going to put up with, and so we'll fight back. It's kind of like if you poke an animal into a corner with a stick, and then you try to get that animal mad, and then when the animal bites you, you go, see, look, the animal was mean. It needs to be controlled, blah, blah, blah. That's basically what they're doing. But minimum wage was another thing that you were bringing up, all the economic news that we were getting into. That kind of caught my attention because I actually, before I studied accounting, I have a radio television background as a board op and a DJ and all that, so I know how the media spins all this stuff around. And in conjunction with accounting, what they do, raising minimum wage is kind of like a proportional fraction. If you have a pencil and a piece of paper, I can quickly show you what this is going to do. In terms of how it's going to have a ripple effect on the economy and our lives. So what is minimum wage right now, Alex? Like $7.50, $7.25, like that?
Yes, and what's really hurting us is inflation, shutting down the economy, shutting down jobs. Raising the minimum wage will just accelerate inflation and will, within a month, most actuaries show, steal whatever money is increased in your pay. But it's something where they can act like they're trying to help you. What's your take on that?
Oh, it's Ronald Reagan all over again. That most terrifying words in the English language. I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. But the hyperinflation is kind of what you're starting to touch up on. And what that is whenever they eliminate enough jobs and they increase...
Tell you what, finish on the other side, Ryan. Then Rob, Joe, David, Mike, and others. Carrie is screwed up and flubbed as attempt to put out data on a climate speech. Infamous global cooling author now insists Earth was warming all along. Obama admits Chicago winter makes it hard to sell. Navy's, we're going to get into a whole bunch of news on that front, but I've got a whole bunch of news I want to get to in the next 30 minutes after we take more of your calls before we get to the guest that is joining us. But look at these headlines. Feds quietly bankroll cell phone spying devices for local police. Government-backed technology enables data collection on every child. And it was a few months ago we broke this at Infowars.com, the federally paid-for snooping towers, where they put up their own cell towers now to steal all your data instead of paying the telecoms to give them the data. Absolutely incredible. Now, continuing here, I want to go to your phone calls. But before we do that, here's an article just today. Japan begins purposefully dumping hundreds of tons of radioactive water from Fukushima into the Pacific every day. And that's being reported by the Japan Times. This is going on now, folks, where they just cool the melting down facilities with water that goes right into the ocean. I developed with Dr. Group, I did the research to then want to find someone who had developed, to be technical, the nascent special proprietary iodine survival shield because I was trying to seek out how to protect myself and my family. CBS News reports 75% of U.S. reactors are leaking. They don't even report it now when they leak. The thyroid is where this stuff concentrates. If you have good iodine in it, you won't be able to get in there. But then there's all the other issues, the chlorine, the bromide, all the stuff in the water. You need high-quality nascent iodine. We sell the best, half the cost, double the strength of the leading competitors at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com. Or you can simply call toll-free 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139. You can also go to InfoWarsLife.com, as I said, and find the other great products like the lung cleanse with essential oils, nothing else like it. The fluoride shield, fluoride cleanse, another heavy metal cleanse. It's just an amazing chelator. The great Wake Up America Coffee Organic. A whole bunch of great products. The Super Male Vitality. You've heard the rave reviews. I'm totally addicted. And your purchase supports the broadcast. So I want to thank all of you for that support. InfoWarsLife.com. Now, continuing, ladies and gentlemen, Harry Reid, President Obama, may have to act on immigration. I'm going to get to this first after I take calls. And then, from WorldNetDaily.com, VA will be the leader of health reform. And they link back to Change.gov agenda. I told you myself that the VA is how all health care will be once it's government run, with private contractors making record profits but not wanting you to get care. And then now you learn from the veterans that the VA was already bad. It is hellish now. You heard their calls yesterday. We'll take more on Sunday. I'll be live Sunday, 4 to 6, breaking that down. So this is the type of stuff we're dealing with. They're eugenicists. They're going to raise the taxes and then lower the quality of care. By the way, if you're going to have socialism, it's bad enough. The worst thing is what fake libertarians push, where they say, oh, we want privatization, but government grows, gives out the contracts, and then corporations become government. No. If you were going to have pure socialist health care, you'd want it to be local socialism, paying to have a communal health care system, and then have it all be about awards for the best care. And then have high transparency and serious community action. And still it would degenerate and become a nightmare. But when you've got fascism over socialism, whoa, there ain't nothing worse, folks. And it's called Obamacare. And get ready, they're going to rape you hard. And the Republican leadership is fighting to keep it propped up. Boehner, you are a piece of filth. Let's go right back to your calls. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231. Rob in Illinois, thanks for holding. You're on the air.
Hey, Alex. It's good to talk to you, buddy. How you doing over there?
You know, my throat is not even sore. I think it's allergies. It's a little bit husky today, but other than that, my voice being a little bit tired, I'm good.
Good, good. Hey, man, I just wanted to bring up, coming from the corrupt state of Illinois, of all the fun 11 nukes that are operating here out of any of the states, I just want to thank you for actually coming up with products that we all can use that are actually very helpful. Their survival shield's actually what I started on, and it's amazing. Then I went to the Super Male Vitality, and my goodness, amazing results there. And the lung cleanse I actually just started trying, and it does a fantastic job. I really appreciate what you guys are doing.
Well, thank you. On that subject, we've gotten really nothing but rave reviews on all the products. I mean, I can't really even think of any negative reviews, and it's simply amazing to see this happening. But I'll be honest, I got into iodine because of radiation issues. That's a side issue. It only protects the thyroid. The government does recommend it. But the big thing is that we're deficient in iodine, and it's the health effects, the mental clarity, the skin health. Everything is the reason I'm into nascent iodine. And then I tried to go out and find nascent iodines and discovered most of them are an alcohol base, really aren't even nascent iodine. We went and checked factories that make it. They're just dumping iodine into alcohol. And I don't want to stir up trouble or fight with people. It's just not really iodine. So we went out, or not true nascent, where it goes right in the blood. And look, the brand system we've got is proprietary. Nobody else has got it. There's one lab that has it. They've been putting it out for 20 years. It's double the price, half the cost, half the size. We put it out, and it's great. We're going to keep selling Survival Shield. We've got something coming out next week, folks, that is over a decade in the works and is unbelievable. There is nothing like it, iodine-based. And, I mean, it is unbelievable. So I'm glad you brought that up. It's going to be a win-win. It'll help operate this war wagon against the enemy. And it just, I've been taking it for about a month. And quite frankly, I wouldn't give it to children. It's not as strong as the alcohol-based stuff. It's not alcohol-based, but it's souped up. And it's incredible. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to ask you, for the Survival Shield, the kids can take that. Is there any particular age that...
Well, I'm not your physician. Consult your physician on anything. But it doesn't have the alcohol in it. It's pure iodine. It's purple crystal iodine from 8,000 feet under the ground. And it just goes right in the blood. It doesn't have to be broken down with the body. Some people can't really break down the other so-called iodines. That's why there's such big dosages of it in the pills and other forms. With this, you can take a lower dose. It goes right in the blood. I give it to my children. But I mean, that's your decision to make. So consult a physician. But there will be a detoxing the first month. So, just consult your physician or healthcare provider.
I wanted to say another thing to you. I travel quite around here. I'm a business owner. Drive around a lot. I never see anything, billboards with really good information. Would it be possible that we could fundraise some money to put a couple billboards, InfoWars, out here in the city of Chicago on some of the major highways? I mean, it would boom you big time.
Here's my problem. I know billboard space is really cheap right now because the billboard industry's collapsed because the economy's so bad. Information warfare is very effective with billboards. A, I don't have the money. B, then I've got to come up with the billboards, make sure they go up, and humet that, make sure that that's going on. And then gauge what happens. But I would love listeners to put up billboards for InfoWars, whatever messages you've got. We've had listeners do that a lot over the years. That's the best way to do it. You put it up, you get the best price, you make sure it's up there. Maybe InfoWars is well known. Maybe you put your own website up with it to help pay for the billboard. During the break, I was looking at InfoWars.com and saw the mainstream media headline that NSA set to use the mic on your phone to listen to you even when it's off. I told everybody that in 1996. How did I know that? It was in the Telecommunications Act. The cell phones have a capacitor in them where they can be remotely turned on and they can listen to you over the microphone even when it's off and track your location for the NSA. And it was engineers that came to me, because one came to me and then more came to me once they heard me talk about it and go, look at this, look at that. I mean, I had engineers show up in the parking lot of the radio station and rip open Scientific Atlantic, Time Warner cable boxes that had microphones in them. I mean, that was like 15 years before they started having them be voice activated now. They were there the whole time. They said, look, this builds an algorithm. It tracks everything you watch. It's reported back. And it took 10 years or more till they admitted that that was going on. And again, I'm not tooting my horn. I'm saying this stuff is hidden in plain view, and it's so frustrating. I remember seeing federal cases 12, 13 years ago where OnStar, which is just a cell phone with a satellite triangulator, GPS, and that they're listening to you in live time with that. In fact, most of the time. And now they're in almost all the cars down in the undercarriage, and then they've got a microphone snaked up, hidden in the upholstery. Would people even care if I ripped open a truck seat and showed them a microphone? I mean, it's incredible. But if you went to somebody's door and went, hey, mind if I put a microphone in your bedroom? They'd be like, what are you talking about? In fact, I think I'm going to do it. That's the type of sensational thing that will get people's attention. And people will go, I'm going to kick your butt. And I'll go, hey, it's just a joke to illustrate the NSA's doing it. Do you mind signing this form so I can put this on YouTube? And watch, I bet some people are going to go, no, get out of here before I call the cops. So you're so offended that I even joked about putting a camera or a microphone in your house that you're saying, get off your front porch because I've invaded your space. I've taken your time up from whatever you were doing. You have a right to be mad at me. And I did this to illustrate to you. I did this so that you would be aware of how you're already being abused. In fact, they just found some article I was unaware of. Throw that up there. I mean, I was aware of this going on, but I didn't know that they were admitting it. That's the Washington Times, 2013, back in June, a year ago. Big Brother alert, cameras in the cable box to monitor TV viewers. We broke that in 2005, Paul Joseph Watson, PrisonPlanet.com. And I actually had a talk show host I know in Austin, saw me at a comedy event, and literally walked over and said, you are the biggest nutball on earth. I know some of the stuff you talk about is true, but Google isn't using cameras to watch you in your house. And I would have people in my house and family would laugh at me when I would have a piece of tape over the camera on the computer because we had Apples. Apple was the first to do that like 10 years ago. People don't laugh now. When people are in my house, workmen or whatever, they'll see, go, oh, I see you cover that up. And I go, yeah. And they're like, yeah, they can watch you. Yeah, no. I do know about that. I also know about the cancer viruses and the vaccines. I mean, we've been under this for a long time, folks. Did you get a memo, cops, not to drink the tap water? It's got over 100 deadly chemicals on average in it, in some cases 350 plus. Did you get a memo about glyphosates giving you prostate cancer and your wife breast cancer? Did you get a memo about cancer viruses and RNA and DNA and microplasm in almost all the vaccines? If you don't know about it, you might want to find out. And then you'll realize murdering killers are running things, and there's no reason to live in denial, and I'm telling you the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help me God. If I am lying and if I'm exaggerating, and they say you shouldn't do this, but I'll just say this, right? I am a superstitious man about God. But, you know, it touched me, and I'm going to your calls. I was at a 9/11 anniversary, I think 3rd or 4th anniversary of it, at a big church, and I'd just given a speech. No, it was the 5th anniversary. I just remember 2006. And I was on KTSA with a talk show host called The Ware Pair, a dad and a son. They've had a show forever down there. I don't know if they still have it, but it had high ratings at the time. One of the #1 shows in San Antonio, 5:50 a.m. One of the first radio stations in the country. I keep digressing. And I was on there for about an hour on a cell phone out there in the back patio of the church. And the son, whatever his name was, and we can look up the Ware Pair online. He goes, Alex, I think you're a good man and don't think you're making this stuff up. And I know you got some points. But he goes, they're still on the air, I guess. Or maybe they're not. But he goes, let me tell you something. You're going to have to face God for what you've said. And you better hope you're not wrong about this. You better understand you're going to stand before God one day. And you know what? It felt really good. Because he was warning me. He's going, this is hard to believe. And you better not be making this stuff up. I don't think you're that type of person. So I've been on a guest on their show on issues before they agreed with over the years, back from like 96. And I said, no, I can stand before God for what I've done. Because it's a big deal to come out and say the government carried out 9/11 with criminal elements and was protecting al-Qaeda.
You can't handle the truth.
I mean, I'm ready. I know that I love God. I know I've told the truth. I know I've done what I needed to do. I'm not on a power trip. I'm very humble. But, man, I don't make this stuff up. You can argue with my interpretation all day long, folks, but we're in deep trouble, okay? And denial is going to cook our goose. In fact, I want you to get the Wear Pair on. I don't know if they have a show anymore because talk radio has been shuffled around so much. We got to get them on all these years later. And other people say, we ought to get Michelle Malkin on, who said I was terrible for talking about 9/11. Yeah, Trey Ware's his name. 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. Or 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. This is a morning show now. Used to be an afternoon. And come on. And I'm going to just read where our government funds al-Qaeda. Our government's turning countries over to al-Qaeda. I can show you all the proof now. And look back in 6 of the 10 9/11 commissions, members saying it was all made up. And say now do you think I can stand before God? By the way, even if I'm wrong about some things, God knows my heart, and God knows I believe what I'm saying. I got some really good news I want to get to, but first let's go to your phone calls. Let's go ahead and talk to Mike in New York. Mike, thanks for holding your on the air worldwide.
Hello?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, I'm from upstate New York, and I would like to talk about the 2 radio hosts that were just fired. I think it's pretty ridiculous that, they were fired because they don't think that we as taxpayers should pay for somebody to have a sex change. I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that. I know that you had mentioned that earlier on the broadcast today.
Well, I know what it is. It's absolute, total, hardcore authoritarianism for 2 talk show hosts, and I've got the article here in my stack, to come out and to say, we're sick of paying for people to have sex changes. It's also New York State and others where they're set to give people 12 years old and younger sex changes. A child isn't at the age of consent. It's their parents. So if an 18-year-old wants to trick a 14-year-old into having sex with them, we call that pedophilia. I think when somebody's 17 and it's an 18-year-old, come on, they need to lower the age of 17. I mean, give me a break, folks. How many people are 18 and dated a 17-year-old? I mean, half people in this country would probably be on the sex registry list. But undoubtedly, when you go do a sex change on some kid that goes to social workers and says, I want to have my genitals chopped off, that is crazy. That's why you can't have an adult say the child consented to sex, because they're not of the age of consent. So I believe it's a sexualization of children and pedophilia, what's going on. But, yeah, I'm sick of paying for abortions and sex changes and everything else. I mean, it's out of control. They fired him. But everybody should boycott that radio station and boycott that system. Even if you agree with people getting sex changes, you should agree with someone's right to say they don't want to pay for people to get sex changes. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And New York State is, I mean, I call it Nazi New York because, your freedoms are completely taken away here. It's super politically correct. All our politicians are the most corrupt. Chuck Schumer wants to get rid of the First Amendment.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Governor Cuomo said, if you're pro-life or pro-gun, get out of the state. They are gangsters. They are thugs. They are the opposite of Thomas Jefferson. They are absolute knuckle-dragging thugs.
I believe New York State is the headquarters for the New World Order. it's absolutely despicable.
You know, you're right, and it's disgusting.
And one last thing, and it's off topic. It's about your supplement. I take your Super Male Vitality and your Nascent Iodine. I think both products are great. I actually used to take medication for ADD, and I stopped taking all that medication after...
Hold on, I want to briefly hear about this, because these are fine products. I'm proud of them. I wouldn't sell these if they weren't the best. All right, Joe, David, Cyberbully, Tim, and others, we're going to you. We have a special guest joining us as well. But, Mike, you wanted to plug, in your own words, the effects that some of the InfoWarsLife.com products had for you. Please tell folks.
Yes. Well, I had been diagnosed with ADD, and I truly believe that I do have ADD. I was on medication for a bunch of years, and I hated the side effects of the medications. You came out with first the Survival Shield, and I wanted to get off the Adderall, and I tried that, and it helped, get some mental clarity for me. And then when you brought out the Super Male Vitality, that gave me the energy that I needed, but it was the calm energy from that supplement, and they were just absolutely amazing. One other thing is, and I don't know if this is possible, Dr. Group's supplements are so great, I was wondering if maybe he could possibly come up with a formula specifically for ADD, because there's so many kids and stuff that they put on all that garbage medication.
It's funny you say that. We have in the works, the problem is to get all the stuff organic, with a calming system for adults and children that uses approved, they call it FDA GRAS, meaning it's all certified to be known safe herbs, to calm people. And that's coming out in a few months. It's amazing that you said that. That is exactly what we're coming out with. But look, I'm no medical doctor. I'm no expert. All I know is this. Even mainline doctors and medical doctors like I've had on have said, like Dr. Blaylock and others, so much of children misbehavior is that they have deficiencies. There's too much sugar. And iodine is 100% associated with the brain and clarity. In fact, privately, that's what Group says it's really for. And the glands and everything, and that's what it's done for me. I was definitely iodine deficient. I mean, the government used to make you put it in the salt, okay, and make them spray it on crops and stuff. Now they've taken it out. And America's like a bunch of zombies. So, absolutely. And again, Shane Steiner, my good buddy from high school, he was kind of laughing. He said, I've tried every supplement. Most of it's bull. Some of it helps a little. He goes, you really put down Super Male Vitality. I said, just take some. Comes back 2 weeks later, he goes, this is unbelievable. I need cases of it, cases. And it just, he says his whole life's gotten better, and clarity and workouts and libido. And his wife liked Super Male, but she got a month ago the Super Female. It's not out till next week, but she got an early beta test, and she just, well, we'll see if she'll talk about it on here or if that's even a family show. The point is that this isn't a game. Everyone I know has a big response with Super Male. Everyone that I know has a response with the iodine. There may be people out there that don't. I don't know them yet. And all I can say is when I forget to not take it, I feel it. When I forget to not take it, I feel it. And my throat was totally shot, my larynx. I could hardly talk today. It got 60% better when I did a bunch of the lung cleanse. So the plug's done, folks. Caller called in about it. But I really appreciate your support. Bottom line, sir, you buying those products funds the InfoWars, so it's a win-win. Thank you so much for your support, Mike.
Thank you. And I want your customer service is the best in the world, better than any other company that I've ever experienced.
Well, God bless you. Thank you, sir. Well, let me say this. It used to be atrocious. 10 years ago. It got okay 5 years ago. It's really getting good now. Like PrisonPlanet.tv didn't used to work too good. Now it works really good. We're trying. And we're getting there, and we got the best crew we've ever had. Here's the InfoWars crew, everybody. Awesome. And Buckley, I started my Access TV show 19 years ago by myself for about a year. Buckley came in for 3 years with Andy. What's Andy's last name? I forget it.
McAvoy.
That's right. We got to get Anthony in there sometime. Andy in there sometime. But, the whole, Anthony's out there, that's why I said Anthony. Everybody's doing a great job. And Buckley worked here from about 1997 to 2002. So remember, Rex was born, my wife was pregnant right when you went to Chicago. And you've been in Chicago for 10 years, 11 years. And now you've come back.
Back to fight the New World Order.
That's right. You have done well, Lord Vader. I have a new apprentice, younger and more powerful. Sorry, folks, I'm doing bad. What's his name? Ian McDermott, Emperor Palpatine imitations. Start doing some imitations when I got to stop it. This happens sometimes into the third hour, folks. I get a little bit dingy. Because I really pour out my passion here on air, and then Screwballville comes in. Joe, David, Cyberbully, Tim, Murph. I got to go to Murph. That was like Alf's brother. We're going to be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with us. We have breaking news on Obozo Care.
We're on the march.
It's not really Obozo,
The Empire's on the run.
It's a scientific takeover
and the
of everything.
GCN Radio Network.
We'll break it down coming up. Again, I am your host, Alex Jones. Thank you for joining us in the last 30 minutes of this worldwide transmission. I will do some overdrive into the next hour to get to the callers like Cyberbully, Joe, David, Murph, Tim, and folks that are holding. I may even get to you in this hour. I saw a story yesterday at cnsnews.com. It was on drugsreport.com is where I found it. That I already knew, but that I didn't know all the details of. Because Obamacare has been so secretive and they can implement it however they want, we weren't sure exactly how they would skin the cat. And here's the headline: Federal Biosurveillance Plan seeking direct access to Americans' private medical records. My dad managed 22 dental offices and also consulted and worked for a major hospital group as a manager and to the legislature, and also testified to a bunch of other groups and consulted. And he was telling me 2 years ago before it passed that it was going to do this. And then he was telling me when it passed and went through and was getting implemented last year, what it was already doing. Because he was in medical management. Everything he said it's meant to wreck healthcare and kick out all the dentists and doctors so they can bring in new groups. The big mega groups run by the HMOs are allowed to do whatever they want, overbill, whatever. It's all the small and medium groups are going to be shut down, persecuted, arrested. That now started this year. My dad's gone. Bye-bye, out of it. And he was making, a nice sum working hard. He's out of it. And he was bringing ethical care and quality. It was all about delivering the highest quality and getting people in and the whole 9 yards. I mean, he goes and testifies at the legislature where they're, grabbing the entire bank accounts of health groups and arresting people for no reason, for a T that's not crossed, literally. He introduced the term death penalty, and they used that in the state of Texas fighting Obamacare because you do one thing wrong, one thing, you're going to jail. No judge, no jury. You get thrown in jail. Your whole company gets seized. I'll try to get him in here as a guest sometime. The point is I already knew about all this, okay, from the inside watching it. Dr. Blaylock 2 years ago predicted it all here because, he's managed universities and medical centers and top brain surgeon, invented a lot of the brain surgeries that are used today. And he said all the good people are getting out because it's designed to where you have to be unethical and not give people health care. Or join with some big mega group who's unethical and overcharges but gives bad health care. I mean, the doctors aren't doctors anymore is what's about to happen. They're little surveillance bots. So when I read this in CNS News, though, we're now seeing how it's being rolled out so we can finally learn more. From Twila Brase, President of Citizens Council for Health Freedom, CCHFFreedom.com, CCHfreedom.org, CCHfreedom.org. We'll put it up on screen for folks. And she breaks it down. And then there's the political ramifications of them having all your medical records and sharing them, using that to then get into school records, work records, the fines, the fees, the IRS over it. I mean, we've seen how they've persecuted people with the Federal Elections Commissions, with the IRS. This is a bunch of kleptocrats running our lives. Again, Twila Brase, thank you for joining us, President of Citizens Council for Health Freedom. Break down exactly what they're rolling out under the nightmare that is Obamacare.
Well, thank you so much, Alex, for having me. The biosurveillance strategy actually started way back in 2002, 2004, 2006, one law after the next after 9/11. But in 2006, they said there needs to be a national health security strategy. And so they put that into law, and they said that the department has to do this, the Department of Health and Human Services. So they have been working, and I think this is why President Obama, in the Recovery Act, which you may recall was passed less than a month after his inauguration. So this economic stimulus bill, it mandates that all doctors, hospitals, everyone that takes care of you in any way has to have an electronic medical record or face penalties from Medicare. And so I really think they have said already that this was the foundation of Obamacare, so they needed to have this in place first. They needed to have this foundation of computerized health data first.
And then they can order you to do the type of care they want, making Obama and the socialists your doctor.
That's right, and that's true. But the strategy goes further. So what they'll tell you about the strategy, and we had somebody who called us and said they called the department, and the department said it's not what you think it is. And so she called me and said, well, who should I believe, right? So I actually read her some pieces on the strategy, and it became clear to her who she should believe. That it is this big surveillance program, and it's not just it's surveillance in your medical records, and they'll tell you it's because of pandemics and bioterrorism, and they need to protect us against these kind of incidences. But what it says is that one of their objectives is to build and sustain health resilience, to strengthen and sustain individual health and well-being on an ongoing basis.
This is everybody getting a globalist, eugenics, welfare, social worker.
Right, and they want to have data shared on you, collected, analyzed, interpreted, shared from multiple sources before, during, and after any kind of incident with negative health consequences. Well, that's as big as the world. This is just a plan to use our medical records to track us, to track our doctors, to make sure we're healthy, to find out what our behaviors are, to find out, what kind of food we eat.
And to claim it's all legal. It's basically an NSA total surveillance legalization. Well,
when you look at the roadmap, when you look at their biosurveillance roadmap, there are many documents on biosurveillance. The strategy is just one of them. But the strategy incorporates the National Biosurveillance Strategy, and it incorporates a biosurveillance roadmap. And in the roadmap, there's the list of all the involved agencies. And one thing to understand about this whole initiative is it's not just human health, it's also plant health and animal health. So they want this surveillance to be broad scale. And they want to combine...
Yeah, let's say that again. That's part of the premises. It's part of the premises ID. It's part of taking over the farms, the ranches, but also your dogs and cats.
That's right.
Will now have... Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's correct. So, we just looked at it and said, this is huge. This is part of a very big scheme. But the interesting thing is, of course, they haven't yet accomplished it. This is a strategy when we look at the GAO report from 2010. One of the things that they say is, one, it hasn't been accomplished, and two, the pieces that they have tried, different biosensors, to sense the air or, to sense different environmental things out there, they're all either ineffective or they're very limited in where they can even be.
And let's be clear.
Unfunded mandates, and they're costly.
Incredible, but you're talking about a total full-spectrum power grab with fear-mongering sensors put up in all the cities to create a new type of federal watch system to create hypochondria, which they can then be the saviors of. So like a new global warming hoax on top of it. This is a total takeover.
It's all on the basis of health. And, anything in your office, anything in your home, anything in the air can impact your health. And so when you start using health as the guise or the basis for these kind of things, there's no end to it. Everything can impact your health, including your friendships, including the job you choose.
It's the ultimate mission creep.
Right. It is an amazing mission creep, and all based on 9/11 and so-called protecting us. But it's nothing about protecting us. And when you look at the strategy as well, one of the things they advocate is that everyone has to have access to health insurance and health care. So this is not only about tracking us, but about making sure that we're all in the system. It's about universal health care.
And let me add the next, because you're the expert on this. Go over it for us, ma'am. And again, we have the head of CCHfreedom.org, president of Citizens Council for Health Freedom, who I see in the Wall Street Journal, you name it, digging through this monstrous bill and breaking it down. You're covering what it does to people. But the way it goes in and doesn't let doctors be doctors anymore and basically turns, because Obama said this at whitehouse.gov, I have the article right here, he said this 5 years ago, they said the VA, it will be the model of Obamacare. Well, all the veterans we've talked to say, since they put this system in at the VA, it is 10 times worse.
Right. I mean, when you look at the VA, you should look behind it and see Obamacare as in, this is the VA today, it will be Obamacare tomorrow. Because the whole plan here with Obamacare, with this biosurveillance, is all about controlling. It's about controlling health care. And when you look at the Obamacare bill, or I'm sorry, the Obamacare law, you see a lot of pieces of control, including always data, because data is a tool of control. We like to say he who holds the data makes the rules. If you don't hold your data private, they will use your data against you. And clearly, if they have all of this, then they can control the doctors. Now, I don't know if you know about what we call the 23 scary words in Obamacare.
Yes, tell us.
So those 23 scary words are this phrase. It's a tiny little phrase in Obamacare, but what it does is it gives the Secretary of Health and Human Services the authority to blacklist any doctor from all health plans.
No, my dad calls it the death penalty, because it just gives them imperial power to do whatever they want.
Right. It says if you do not, as a physician or as any kind of a healthcare provider, if you do not provide healthcare quality as defined and determined by the Secretary of Health and Human Services, she can tell every health plan in the entire country, every insurance company in the entire country, not to do business with you.
It's sudden death. No judge, no jury.
That's it.
North Korean level dictatorial power.
It is a complete shutdown. And let's just say that you're a 2-year physician, like you've just gotten out, right? Your bill is $175,000 that you have to pay back or more.
That's low, yeah.
Right, I know, but well, we'll go with primary care, and you have to pay that much back. And you decided to treat a patient like you decided a patient should be treated, and you looked at that protocol on the screen, and you said, no, this is never going to work. I am not going to do that. And you did that to several different patients. And the department who's tracking you says, this is one of those obstinate, non-compliant doctors. I am going to threaten him that no health plan will be able to contract with him, and therefore he will be stuck.
Listen, the state boards in Texas have already been following the Obamacare, even though they claimed they were going to opt out but then didn't, and they're already using this as a precedent to have their own sudden death or death penalty, where they just say, we say you did something wrong, to huge practices and are literally grabbing their bank accounts.
Yeah, well, this is taking all the power away from the doctor and the patient. I mean, that's what the whole plan here is. The doctor becomes a slave, as it were, a fairly well-paid slave, and the patient just becomes someone who is subservient to the entire system. They're not able to access anything unless somebody else tells them. Somebody else doesn't like what their lifestyle is. Somebody else doesn't like what their disease is. Somebody says that med is too expensive, or you're too old, or the child's too young, or, whatever the
What do you expect to happen then as this monstrosity phases in and is so unpopular, 80% in many polls, and the Republican leadership won't get rid of it because the same special interests that own the Democrats own them? What do you expect to happen?
Well, I expect that we will repeal Obamacare. I expect that to happen. I don't know how it will happen, but it has to happen. Otherwise, we don't have a country that we can still call America as a land of the free. And so we have to repeal Obamacare. But in the meantime, I think there will be a lot of people who will suffer. They may not hit VA status, right? But they're already hitting narrow networks, limited access to doctors. Doctors are already deciding to leave. Doctors are deciding not to take more Medicare patients, not to take any Medicaid patients, not to take any Obamacare patients. All of these patients are suddenly going to figure out that they have this thing called coverage, which is a promise without any guarantee of access. And so there's just going to be more and more consternation. And when I see things like what President Obama did or his administration did in the new rules that just came out, the 400 and some page rule, what they said, people are calling it a bailout, but it's really not a bailout. It's really a smokescreen. They're telling the health insurers, if you'll just keep the rates of premiums low, we'll find money to pay you for the next 3 years. So in other words, until the next president, right? And so until the next president is elected, of course, and I think that's because they want to have Democrats in power, and I think they would love to turn Obamacare into single payer. And if they get enough consternation built, they're probably hoping that's how they can turn the ship. But we, who know that freedom is the best way that patients can be treated, the best way that doctors are free to find excellence and use excellence, we know that we have to turn it the other way. We have to go back to freedom. We have to get people away from Medicare. I'd like never to have a Medicare card in my life. I'd like the up-and-coming generations to have private insurance all the way to the end of their days. I prefer an insurance policy that starts at birth or before, and you don't have to worry about pre-existing conditions. We have to turn this the other way around as the American public gets more and more agitated over the fallout of Obamacare.
Well, it's the arrogance. When you've got Ezekiel Emanuel, who brags he helped write the bill, saying it's meant to wreck American health care, that's an admission of a criminal conspiracy to wreck an existing system so you can run the new one. And I just don't get the hubris of Bill Press saying it's the law, it's wonderful, or Ellen DeGeneres saying to Obama, everyone loves it, everyone should thank you. I mean, is this some type of propaganda in your view, or are they totally delusional?
Well, I was just going to say that. That's the art of propaganda. The art of propaganda, of course, is saying something over and over and over until people believe it. And this, of course, is what they want people to believe. And those who know that the Democrats are threatened by what's happening with Obamacare when it comes to the next two elections, they're very much in jeopardy. They want everyone to believe that Obamacare is the best thing that ever happened to
Sure, so it's a confidence game.
They have to say it.
So it's a confidence game.
Right.
Yeah.
But the reality is coming, and the reality cannot be stopped. It's just a matter of when that reality comes. And that reality will arrive on the doorsteps of every American man and woman and child.
Well, you're a top expert of this. Come back and tell us, as best you understand, how bad it's going to be. Because it's designed to wreck the country and blow up health care. They admit that. So how do they think they're going to get away with it? That's a big question. I'm going to do 5 minutes overdrive to try to jam in Joe, David, Tim, and Cyberbully. I'll give each person 1 minute. Sorry to Rich. I just don't have time to get to you. Finishing up here right now with our guest, Twila Brase, the president of Citizens Council for Health Freedom, one of the groups oft quoted going over Obamacare. I mean, I've read over the subsections of the bill. I've seen it. I see it being implemented. As an employer, I see it happening. And they go on the news and say, there's not a $5,000 fine per employee if they don't get it. Matt Drudge is lying when it's there and starts this year and next year. So, again, there is this stonewalling, but I've been at the clinic, when Democrats are coming in going, why is this more now? They're like, sorry, it's Obamacare. And it raised payroll taxes on poor people. I mean, it's so bad, Twila, that I have trouble believing they would even pass something like this. What's wrong with them? Because, I mean, do they just think we're so pathetic that there's nothing we can do?
No, I think when you want control, you know that you have to get control of people's health, which gets control of their life. and which encourages them to vote for you more often. And so, one of the things when we look at what to do, as we look at Obamacare and we say, what is its Achilles heel? It has one. And its Achilles heel is the exchange. And so whether it is the healthcare.gov or whether it's the one at the state level, they're all part of the same national exchange, and they are considered the heart of healthcare reform. It is the centerpiece. It is the way that the IRS will track us. It's the way that they'll figure out our insurance status. It's the way that they'll gather money to keep Obamacare going. Therefore, it is the way they intend to set up the system as a single seller system before they move it to single payer. And so you have to attack the Achilles heel. So that's part of our Refuse to Enroll campaign, refusetoenroll.org, and we have a opt-out declaration. We have sheets that for
so people like Matt Drudge are doing the right thing and are just going to pay the fine that the Democrats then say doesn't exist.
Right. Yeah,
but what about getting lawyers and fighting the fine?
Yeah. There are things that have to happen, but I think they know that they need people in the exchange, and so our tactic is to try and keep people out of the exchange. And even if you have to pay a fine, it might be worth it for a few years until we can shut the thing down. And shutting the thing down means shutting down the exchanges. And shutting down the exchanges is as easy as getting people not to enroll in them or to disenroll once they're in there. So we have refusetoenroll.org, and we encourage people to do exactly that.
And isn't it good news that their system has been so incredibly corrupt and out of control that most people can't even sign up for it to begin with? I mean, I've got to say it's spectacularly falling on its face, but they just keep the cult thing going like Hitler in the bunker on MSNBC and CNN, that everyone loves it. It's perfect. It's a conspiracy theory that it's not perfect. You're racist if you don't like it, like Senator Jay Rockefeller said. I mean, they seem to be doubling down on this.
Well, it's timing, right? If they can keep this thing going, if they can find money from wherever, even though the U.S. House refuses to give it to them, if they can get states to pony up money to say, well, you don't have a state exchange, your people are using our federal one, and so now you have to pay us money. If they can do that and they can just keep this thing rolling along in time to change the House or, keep Democrats in the power so that it just stays in, they'll get it embedded, right? They want it embedded. We want it to imploded. That's what we want, it imploded. And so, they're racing to get people into it. We're racing to get people out of it. And so, it just becomes a matter of time. They want all the time that they can get to keep it in place. And we're trying to say, no. We're going to stand up, and this thing is going to be gone.
Absolutely. I'm not buying it. I'm not going to pay the fee, the fine. I'm going to sue the IRS and sue Obama personally. Thank you so much, ma'am. Great job. Have a great weekend. I'll be back this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. live in studio right here. And we got a special show I'm taping for Memorial Day. Stay with us. Overdrive coming up in 60 seconds. Final segment, moving quick. Joe in California, thanks for holding. You disagree? Should have gone to you earlier. I didn't see that on screen. Joe, go ahead. Thanks for holding.
No worries, Mr. Jones. This is a mild disagreement. First off, I have a lot of good things to say about your products. Absolutely love them. The point of my disagreement, though, is regards to Glenn Beck. Something has to be done. You can't let him punk you around like that because it's not cool. He continues doing this. It's going to be bad for everybody. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Well, thank you. Thanks for holding. I mean, he's just doing horrible things to us, and I don't want to get into it anymore. It's just, he's lying about us all the time, and I'm getting tired of it. And it's government talking points. I mean, I got to tell people the truth. He makes fun of me and says, there's nobody that ever worked at the CIA here, and it's like on the bio on their page. I mean, I just, whoa, it freaks me out. And I hope he's just scared of being a jerk. I hope he's not an actual operative, but it doesn't look good. I'm just telling the truth. It's bad. He's going to continue doing it. I think my gut tells me I can't believe it. It's not a good thing for all of us. And if he attacks me right now, folks, it'll be the whole liberty movement at key junctures. He bears watching. Let's go ahead and talk to David in Kansas. You're on the air. Go ahead.
It's amazing that everybody that has spoken with you today agrees, and I agree 100% with them, with everything that you do. Thank you very much. Your products are outstanding. I'm
thank
a
you,
human
brother.
billboard. I wear all of your shirts that I got right at the moment. But my question for you is, in the state of Kansas, the governor, or not the governor, the attorney general has made it quite easy for a lot of the citizens to get their concealed carry. Do you think they are possibly doing this to find out who the true gun owners are for the people who have their concealed carry?
You know, they like to get people in there like it's a privilege to have it and they can revoke it later, but the culture is growing so fast. I've changed my view of concealed carry permits. It's helped mainline it. Made people feel secure to carry guns. It's got its problems. I know a lot of state reps, congressmen and women, and people behind the scenes that don't even come on the show because, A, listeners don't really want to hear them. B, it just gives them political trouble. But there are a lot of good people in government. In fact, statistically, I've said this, the military's more awake than the public. The police are more awake. It's just they've got so much authority. When they do bad stuff, it's really bad. It's the people at the top that are bad. So I think the loosening of concealed carry laws is a very positive thing. There's a lot of good people at the state level. That's why the feds are moving to block the states.
Makes sense.
God bless you, brother. No, there's just, look, if good people stand up and start saying no, it's over. So I appreciate your call. Great points. Tim in Florida. Let's move quick. Thanks for calling. Go ahead, Tim.
Hey, Alex. Your show's been a lot about spiritual things, and yesterday I had an epiphany, and I'm thinking, God created heaven and earth. What did Satan create? And I'm thinking, oil. They use it to take our money. When oil burns, it burns in the carbon or hydrogen monoxide, which kills you. Water burns as hydrogen, and it turns back into water if it's not burned, or nothing else if it is. And it's just, I was trying to think of what is it that Satan creates? And I just thought
Satan takes things that already exist, twist it into a evil, bizarro world doppelganger.
Yeah, and when I told my wife and children about this last night at dinner, I said, "You guys are going to think I'm crazy for what I'm about to say." And my 16-year-old looks at me, and she says, "And they don't mix." Immediately, she said that. And I was like, wow.
Water and oil don't mix. Well, I'll tell you, water-powered energy be a lot better than oil. I hear you, brother. Great points. I'm sorry to cyberbully. If you call me back on Sunday, I promise, front of the line. When you call, remind them I said front of the line. Okay, great job with the crew. Nightly news tonight, 7 o'clock. Spread your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships around, folks, and pray for unity in the liberty movement. Pray for Glenn Beck.